Nope. Hold on. Yeah. Thanks. All right. And I think we're back. Hold on. All right. Now I've got to reload you guys.
Can you hear? I'm going to disconnect and reconnect here.
I hear you. Hold on. No. Allow. Oh, just in time. Just in time for me to fix everything. Dear God. All right. There we go. There we go. And then there's this. And then, hi, Johnny Million. Hi. There you are. Yeah, just as I got back, you were like, I'll disconnect. And I'm like, no. Like, yeah, it was literally just internet shut down here for a second. Just went offline totally. So not anybody's issue. Just that kind of stuff. So
yes, we do. I do. Do you hear Chicago?
No. Hold on. I do not. But give me a second. I have to fix one thing on their end because they're different. Let's see. Command, click here. Sorry. Properties. I just have to fix one little thing. And then I will be able to hear them just fine as soon as they come online. Check, Chicago. That's okay. That's great. Thank you. And then I'll bring in Philip as soon as he comes back online. Obviously, we were attacked by the Russians.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I think.
Oh yeah, and we couldn't when it was just me and Philip. They couldn't hear Philip.
Yeah, I know. It was because of it all collapsed there first, and then came our way. So they'll let's see. Open this up. Control audio from here. Yes. Close, and then on this guy. BI. Interesting.
Hoo-yah.
Well, that was exciting temporarily. We're waiting for Philip to reconnect with us. Here he comes. I'll add him to our system real quick, and then we'll be ready to go again. Little bit of old school. Reminds me in many ways of old school Hsrpm, where we would have these
just straight up
just went away. That was the good stuff. So for the record, Philip is with us in 3, 2, 1. He'll be up here in a second. And there he is. I think we'll hear him in a moment, and it's all good. Although, Johnny, you guys might hear him in this process.
1, 2.
Can he hear us? There he is. Yep.
Yay.
Hooray! Look at that. I made it happen. Even after a crash. So, ladies and gentlemen, Philip Bittner joining us. He's live in Kiev currently in front of his poster of Olga of Kiev and in his Ukrainian flag, where, I don't believe in that there's any sense of general neutrality in this current circumstance. I think it's myself sort of patently absurd at this point, especially after the week of Solovyov and all this crowd, which, by the way, sounds like somebody talking with their mouth full, on Channel 1, basically complaining. Somebody talked him down. I don't know if you saw this, about, you can't say you're going to wipe out entire cities of citizens. You can't say that because no one has ever gotten ahead in a war or gotten, less resistance because they've said they're going to do that. As a matter of fact, it's how you cook up more resistance because people are like, you're just going to murder us all.
Yeah, it doesn't leave us much choice.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I found it particularly galling, as you would, but apparently so did some of the folks on the Channel 1 over there as well. And it's it's getting worse all the time. For them, was it Putin met with a bunch of the moms of soldiers that he pretends to give a crap about?
Yeah.
So, first of all,
Yeah,
how are you? And catch us up.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to talk about that a little bit, but first things first. It's cold. Winter has definitely set in. Heating is an issue. My apartment is running at about a quarter its normal heat because it's centralized heating within the entire building. Uh, so that is an issue. Power is a major issue, although I was lucky enough not to lose too much power. I woke up this morning without it, but the previous 2 days I was okay. Pardon me.
As you do. No, that's all right.
Anyhow, I lost power sometime over the evening because I woke up and I didn't have any. But they restored it about mid-afternoon, apparently because I was out shopping, getting provisions and candles and
as you do, right?
bottled water because I lost water this week. That was another major issue for about 2 days. They are definitely having an effect on the infrastructure here. So it's difficult. This is hard. This is really, really hard. I mean, I saw this week for the very first time in my entire life, the main street in Kiev without a single. I took a photograph of it. I put it out on my Twitter feed. Now, Twitter's still around, so I'm still doing that. But put it out on Twitter. I've never seen anything like it. There was not a single light on in any house.
Right.
There was a stop. There was a stoplight, and there was a single, really bright luminescent street lamp. But everything else was in pitched darkness. I've been coming here 21 years, never seen anything like it. It would be comparable to a city the size, a main drag the size of, I don't know,
Melrose in Los Angeles. Yeah, right. Or
okay, sure, yeah, but a major, thoroughfare. Completely devoid of light. Never seen anything like it. It was spooky. So that's how I'm doing. That's my experience. But I wanted to talk about this thing that Putin did with the women, the mothers and wives, and mostly mothers. It's my understanding, if not all, of those who lost their lives fighting in Ukraine. And I have some context to put this in, because I was a CBS radio correspondent in Moscow when the nuclear submarine, the Kursk, went down and sank in the coast of Murmansk. And I was in Murmansk when Putin came, and it was a very early period in his presidency, and he came to Murmansk, and he went to a little church thinking that he could do what he did with these women around the table, and that people would rally around. We could all kind of like, I'm the great leader and I will solve it all. But what he got was people furious at him. And it's burnt into my mind, these images of him on national television, live on national television, because he just walked into the church.
Right.
And people screaming in his face about how bungled it was, the attempt to rescue the sailors on the Kursk. And his look of shock, because as an FSB guy, a former KGB guy, he'd never had to deal with somebody who actually, really got up in his face, and he was really, really shocked. And for the rest of his presidency, the last 20 years, I can't think of a time when he is not where he has repeated that, where it wasn't highly, highly controlled. And that's what happened with these women. And not to say that these women were used. I've seen a lot of criticism of people saying, "Oh, these poor women who are being used as a photo op." I would be more than willing to bet that these are true believers. That these are women who
I think the only way they were allowed. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, they were vetted. They were vetted, double vetted, so that they were true believers, that they were right in there, and that sacrificing their son for the motherland, for the Rodina is what they call it, that they were okay with that. That they were willing to make that sacrifice.
Right.
Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened, because he learned his lesson at that little church in Murmansk. He was terrified. He was absolutely terrified, and he's never repeated it, and he didn't repeat it there.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's all controlled. It's all a bit of show, but at the same time, he's not acknowledging the real mothers and wives who are not going to take this much longer. I mean, they stopped the first Chechen war. They were the most vocal opposition to the second Chechen war, and I have a very strong feeling that the longer this goes on, and I'm surprised it hasn't really happened in full force yet, but I think it will. These women are gonna take to the streets, and it's not gonna be a bunch of women sitting around a table, listening to Vladimir Putin try and commiserate. I feel your pain. That ain't gonna happen.
Right.
That ain't gonna happen. So that was a fascinating thing, and people who watch it and are aware of it should know that that's a minority, but there are people there who are still very much true believers.
Right. Well, the idea is that somebody pointed out that Putin has this group of kind of personality actors that they use all the time. They talk about Alex Jones was talking about crisis actors at Sandy Hook and that nonsense. Well, Putin definitely uses them because they only trust so many people. So they have this one particular woman with blonde hair that is an army colonel or one of the female army officers, and she's in all of these photos dressed differently as a different person. She was like a Ukrainian from the Donbass who was hoping for liberation, and she was she was one of these mothers at the table. She was next to him as members of the citizenry in his round table that he has that asked him a question. It's and it reminds me of Maria Butina when she was basically positioned to ask Trump, I think, his first question at his first presser about running for president. She was literally just contrived to tee up an easy one to help him, define his relationship with Russia, to help, push back against the rumors that he was owned. But it's a similar strategy. So I don't doubt that they're true believers. I would argue there's a very strong chance some of them don't even have kids in the Donbass, or God forbid, they're, Wagner Group soldiers who are the ones who are surviving. They're the mothers of those guys, not the people who are being conscripted. Yeah. Or
they are literally women who, this is very disturbing for me to say, but I know it exists. There are women who are like, maybe they have several children, but there are women who in Russia are literally willing to sacrifice their children for what they see as the greater good of a greater resurgent Russia. And it's because of 20 plus years, a quarter century of incessant brainwashing. And they are absolute nationalists, not in the sense of, and you've heard me talk about what it is to be a Ukrainian nationalist, because they believe in the idea, the concept of a Ukrainian nation. No, this is the ugly side of nationalism. This is the Russia is a perfect country. Russia is the great country. It is the unique on the planet country that should be dominant. And I am so patriotic in my mind that I am willing to sacrifice my child. It's a sickness. It is an absolute a result of 25, give or take, years of just straight up brainwashing, and they want to see a resurgent Russia. I saw some. How much time do we have? I got to tell you.
Well, Chicago. I was going to ask because of our technical issues earlier, we kind of did an extra break. So if it's great with Chicago, we'll just ride through straight to the half hour. If that works with you guys.
It's a relatively quick one. Quick one. So there was an ad apparently that went out this week in Russia for a chicken restaurant, and it was shot for shot the famous Gorbachev Pizza Hut commercial, which aired in the West.
Yes,
in America,
right.
we did a commercial with Gorbachev where somebody comes out of the snow on Red Square and they go in, they sit down in a Pizza Hut, and it's like 1997, 1999, something like that, when Gorbachev is already very controversial figure, and they're like, because of Gorbachev we have instability, because of Gorbachev we have no law, because of Gorbachev we have no financial stability. And then somebody says, because of Gorbachev, we have freedom. And then, of course, because of Gorbachev, we have pizza. Yay!
Right.
Commercial.
Yeah. Right.
Insane. That was so deeply offensive to so many people in the former Soviet Union, well, in Russia, post-Soviet Union, that what they did was they did it shot for shot, but it was supposed to be Germany in the middle of a totally destabilizing winter, where they're like, because of Putin, he destroyed America. Because of Putin, we don't have the lights on this winter. Yes, but because of Putin, we have a strong Russia, and we have vodka, and we have borscht, and this kind of stuff. This kind. But the point isn't the dialogue. The point is that they did it shot for shot to go with the Pizza Hut commercial, because they are speaking to an audience. And this is a private company, so I'm not saying the Russian government did this.
Sure.
But the reason I bring it up is because it speaks to an audience that comes from a period where they remember how humiliating it was to watch the Soviet Union deteriorate right before their eyes. And they are so desperate for a resurgent Russia to basically be the dominating force in whatever it is, whatever situation is, international relations or this war or whatever conflict. But it gives you an insight into the mentality, and I don't think we can dismiss that so lightly. And whenever we start talking about peace in this country, we're going to have to recognize that a second humiliating event like the fall of the Soviet Union and a utterly embarrassing defeat in Ukraine is going to drive these people nuts, and it will be a wound if we do not handle this properly, that they will carry on and probably try and repeat in another 20 or 30 years' time. So this is a very delicate period of time.
Well, I think
not
that there
I'm
is
apologizing for Russia, but that's their mentality. That's their mentality.
Well, you've also got to be aware of the other ramifications after something, the traumatic aspect of it, and that's what the Marshall Plan was for. It's one of the best arguments like you hear about, like America as an imperial force from certain groups around the country and the world that kind of crap on America as being this imperialist force throughout. Well, if we were. I think it was Jocko Willink or somebody who said this, but it was like, if we were, we would own Japan and Germany right now, and we do not. We helped them get on their feet, and we absolutely backed away. And that is the standard. We'll do business with you, and you might say that American businesses end up working with someplace, but the idea isn't to take the land and make it our own and homogenize it and turn it into the way the USSR kind of remnant people like Putin are arguing for everywhere. The idea is wipe out the Ukrainian identity, take the land, it's ours anyways, and remind these people that they were already Russian, and Poland's next. So it is a wholly different circumstance. That I blame, by the way, that pizza reference, I blame Ozzy Osbourne, because I'm only partially kidding. Johnny, remember the Moscow Music Peace Festival?
Oh my God, yeah, they're still waiting for their pizzas.
That's right. Ozzy Osbourne, they interviewed him, and he was talking about how, people in the West take our freedoms for granted. And they had this interview with Ozzy, and he's like, we're over in the West, and we order a pizza, and was like, it's been 30 minutes already, and the pizza hasn't come, and these people over here, they're still waiting for their pizzas. Like, that was his moment analogy. I'm not kidding. Like, that was really his analogy. I used to do that in around friends. I used to impersonate that bit with our friends all the time. Well before doing Ozzy was a cool thing to do. And that ad came out shortly thereafter.
Could be.
I think
it could be.
yeah.
I mean, look.
But you're right.
The the reason why the Ukrainians are willing to suffer through what they're suffering right now, and we'll talk about it on the other side of this break. I think probably we'd be better to dive into that on the other side. But just know this: the Ukrainians know their enemy very well. They know Russia very, very well, and they are willing to put up with what they're putting up with right now because they know that they have two choices. They either acquiesce to Russia and basically go under their thumb for God knows how long, or they put up with the deprivations that they are putting up with currently, because this winter, as hard as it's going to be, next winter will be better. So it's they know their enemy, they know Russia, and they know what will happen if Russia wins here. So as awful as it is, they're going. It's
better than the alternative, right?
Yeah.
Also, by the way, and we'll talk about this more on the other side of the break as well. But this week was the 90th anniversary of the Holodomor.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you don't know what that is, we'll talk about that on the other side of the break as well. But it's where Voldemort from Harry Potter gets his name, by the way. And also, and Vladimir Mackay, I hope I'm saying it right, the Belarusian foreign minister died mysteriously, as these fellows often do this week, at the age of 64. So, will you still need me? The answer is no. For Vladimir Mackay, the Belarus foreign minister, he's been in there since 2012, pre-Lukashenko days or Yanukovych days. This is that's a major turn. We'll be back right after this with more of Philip Bittner live from Ukraine, and our dear friend Johnny Million, who will be farming questions during the break.
Yeah,
so we'll be back right after that. Yep, got a bunch. We'll be back. So. This is the 90th anniversary of that.
90th anniversary, yeah.
Yeah, the last few, because it lasted for a couple of years, but this is would be, I guess, the beginning.
There were a couple of them, actually, if you really look at it. There were a couple of periods. There was 32 to 33, and then I think they considered
this part,
37, 39, another Holodomor. But it came in waves, but this is the one this is the international observation of it. So it's a tough topic, boy. I tell you what.
Right.
We'll get into it on the other side. We'll get into it when we're back on air.
Yes.
But it's not lost on a lot of people.
Thank you. Yeah.
Not lost on a lot of people. Well, let's talk about it on the other side.
Yeah.
But, by the way, Hal, you got to do me a favor, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go through this winter for nothing. I gotta expand my audience. So if you know of any podcaster out there,
you got it,
who wants to take a live hit from Kiev, I'm here.
Deal.
Because this winter sucks.
Blark.
A couple of data points before we get into our conversation and some of our questions. One of the big things the Europeans have been doing is talking about a price cap on Russian oil as a way of stopping funding for Russia's oil. As far as funding for using oil revenues to fund the war. And Russian oil currently is trading below the cap mark, and Russia signed a decree this week banning sales of oil to any participants in the cap. So they basically, if you can't fire me, I quit is the standard. So yeah. So on these guys, which is going to wreck their system anyways. They're already underselling. The oil they're selling to China is operating below the cap that the Europeans would put on it. It's hilarious. I mean, but he's sharp as a tack, according to Trump. Okay, so first of all, Philip, the Holodomor, if you can kind catch everybody up on what that is.
Yeah, I
and
need
then
to
today
start at the beginning.
is
Mhm.
okay. So today is the International Day of observing what is now the 90th, because the first period of famine was in 1932. Joseph Stalin, as the head of the Soviet Union, basically created a famine here in which millions of people died. I mean, this was one of the great unknown tragedies of the 20th century, and it was millions of people. The Soviets kept it very much controlled. The information coming out of the Soviet Republic of Ukraine, many people say it was done to actually conduct ethnic cleansing against Ukrainians so that they could flood this place with ethnic Russians. That's disputed, but there are folks who strongly believe that. I wouldn't be terribly surprised. But they starved these people. They took all so this is the breadbasket of Europe, and they took all the food when they made this place a communist country. They collectivized the farms, and instead of letting the people who work the farm at least get some of the toils of their labor, all the food was taken to other parts of the Soviet Union. And I'm literally, some estimates put it 7 to 9 million people died. And we don't even really know the history of it. Cannibalism was widespread. It really fed into the resentment that many Ukrainians felt towards Russia and Russians and the Soviet Union. And we are marking the 90th anniversary of this human tragedy at a time when Russia is clearly targeting civilians. And that coincidence, that correlation is not lost on many Ukrainians who know that they are without heat, they are without water, they are without electricity tonight, because they are being targeted solely for being Ukrainian. And on a day when they mark the death of millions of their fellow countrymen in a man-made famine, that messaging is not lost, and it has renewed a lot of people and their just resilience to standing up to Moscow. It was one of the great tragedies of the 20th century. There's an amazing monument. It's in one of my vlogs, and actually a couple of my vlogs. The monument, it is haunting. It is an awful, disgusting way to die, to be purposefully
starved,
starved to death. Is it any wonder that Ukrainian nationalism and resistance to control by Moscow, is as
so
strong
enormous
as it is?
There was a in studying up on it, because in this last year I've dived more into it than we've all dived into more Ukrainian history than I think we've ever done before, but for Philip. There is a series of a particular girl, a young girl who survived it, and she was older, but she journaled during that time. It's kind of almost like the diary of Anne Frank of the Holodomor, where she talks about the people she sees in the street who are literally they're like zombies crawling on the ground. They don't have enough strength to move. They've passed out on the street. They're hungry and they're driven mad by their hunger. So they're just kind of like their jaws are biting at the air. It's the weirdest. The telling of it is just, it reminds me of the zombies in The Walking Dead who are just like chomping at the air as you walk by in the storylines. And it's just heartbreaking. The only other thing I've ever read that was worse was was Nanjing in China. The Japanese in China during Nanjing, and then of course the Mao starvation that was around that, which was much more like a passive.
Holocaust,
right? But in the streets as opposed to an environment.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I take your point there.
Yeah.
But the horrific nature of it was. It's in its generational trauma that
I'll post it, by the way, for people who are asking in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is one of the worst things of the 20th century, and and a lot of people, what they will do, and I have done in past years, but I haven't done it yet this year, but I will do it in a little bit. Maybe during the break, I'll break it up. But traditionally, what people do is they will put a single candle in a windowsill. So anybody who's listening to this broadcast or watching this podcast, the streaming cast, go get a candle, put it in the window. It's if you read about it, you will not.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
You won't be able to unlearn it. It's one of the worst things that could have ever happened to any group of people. And so on a night when I am cold and when there is no electricity in many places of the country, they're targeting the people, just like they targeted the people in the Holodomor. They're targeting the people, and it can't continue. This country is long overdue in getting its independence and breaking away from a despotic, empirical colonizer that has no regard for the well-being of the people of this country. And if you think that the Ukrainians are putting up this amazing fight, well, they are. But they are because they know that if they let themselves fall subject to being a colony of Moscow, once again, there will be another Holodomor. There will be another war. There will be another injustice. It's just what they do. The disdain that they have for Ukrainians, because you have to control, in their minds, the Ukrainians. The Russians have a long history of doing ethnic cleansing, and it's genocide. All of these buzzwords that kind of wash over us and don't have substance. When you're here on the ground and you talk to the Ukrainians and you live amongst the Ukrainians and you live through what they're living through. I mean, I don't like this. This is hard.
Right.
I could leave, but I won't. I will not leave. I'm staying here. Friends have implored me to leave. They don't know why I'm doing this to myself, but I'm doing it to myself because I decided a long time ago I was going to stand with these people because I know their history, and they need to know that there are foreigners here. I was just collecting my soup, collecting my dinner, my soup that I will reheat in the microwave after this, and I was collecting it from my nearby restaurant, which, by the way, never stopped serving even when the electricity was out there, a barbecue place. So they were cooking with coals. There was a table next to me, and they were, drinking it up and singing Ukrainian songs. And I just stopped for a minute and I said, "Look, we know you're here. We're with you." And I think it means a lot to them. And maybe I'm overstating my own worth, but it's important that we do not let the Ukrainians fall behind some sort of veiled control by Moscow, like it happened in the Holodomor, like the 2014 Maidan revolution that kind of went on to was moved from the front pages to the sixth pages, and then it wasn't even in the press. But we always knew that this war was coming, and I just refuse to let Moscow do what it normally does to Ukraine. And so on this day of all days, I'm going to put a candle on my windowsill.
I will do that myself after the broadcast and post a picture of it. I would love if anybody who follows me on any of the socials to do the same. And totally makes sense. We have questions. I do want to bring up one other thing before we get to those, which is Russia's apparently launching hollow nuclear missiles at Ukraine, simply using them for their crash potential. Like they don't have their nuclear systems inside of them. They are just rockets full of fuel smashing into things. They're not, and people are saying this is actually reflective of the lack of munitions in Russia is so bad that they are decommissioning these things and taking the nuclear. By the way, if the nuclear apparatus was ever there to start with, don't get me started on the paper tiger aspect of it. But even still, if they were, the fact that they are removing them and striking Ukraine with these hollow nuclear rockets just to use them as projectiles, Russia's it's like the scene in Superman where the guy's trying to shoot Superman and he throws the gun at the end. Like, dude, if the bullets didn't do it, what are you doing? But it is it's a fascinating turn of events as well.
Well, we saw like 2 months ago, well, probably longer than that, them doing things like shootings that are intended to sink aircraft carriers.
Right.
Okay, they were designed and built to sink American aircraft carriers. And
Right.
they were shooting them at suburban, power stations and stuff like that. The irony of it, and the thing that I love when I'm talking to my Ukrainian friends about this, is the fact that they shoot all of this arsenal. They are pulling everything they possibly can. Stuff that's effective. It's built for one thing, but they're using it for another. And within a few hours, the power's back on because the civil engineers know it's coming. So they are expending billions and billions of dollars to try and destroy Ukraine's electrical grid. And while they're able to do it temporarily, power usually is back on before too long.
Right. Let's grab some questions, at least before we get into this first break. At least we can do at least one or two before we get into this break.
Sure, yeah.
And then,
I don't have a ton yet, so I'm about to be hit with a million. But Elizabeth would like to know the status of the cat cafe in Lviv. You know if it's okay?
I haven't been to the cat cafe. I haven't been to the cat cafe in a very long time, but I'm sure it is there, and I'm sure that there are lovely feline friends. The reason why I think the cat cafe is such a neat place to visit, it's bittersweet, is because so many people had to leave their pets behind, and their children are devastated. And so what they have done is they have brought their kids who have escaped fighting, particularly in the east, out in Donbass. But it could be Kharkiv, it could be Kherson, whatever. And they take their kids just to have a little bit of time with a four-legged friend, and maybe remember their four-legged friend they had to abandon. So it's lovely to see them smile. It's lovely to see them be children again. But then they walk back out onto the cold streets, and they don't have their little furry friend anymore.
Right.
And it all comes flooding back. So it breaks your heart, but at least for a little while they're at that cafe. Next time I pass through Lviv, I promise.
Oops.
Squeeze in one more, Hal?
Let's do it. Let's grab one more if we can, if it's relatively
Connie
short.
Kelly asked that there are reports the new troops are going into Ukraine without food or socks. Also guns. How is this being received in Ukraine?
The Russians,
Russian soldiers coming in here with that? Yeah,
I imagine.
Oh, I mean, on one level, they compassion for them, but it's percentage-wise, it's like, their ability to have compassion for Russian soldiers who come here to kill Ukrainians is not that high. Not that it was ever that high to begin with, but it's that to many Ukrainians who I speak to, it's like, all right, send them over with insufficient means, and we will send them back in body bags.
Not a lot of you see a lot of memes on the Ukrainian Telegram channels that I follow about those things in particular. And a lot of them are washing machine jokes. There was just a Russian general that was busted for he was being paid a bribe in washing machines. He wanted to be paid his bribe in washing machines to sneak some people out of the country, which is the only thing they'll bust you for. They don't care about anything else. But he was sneaking soldiers out of the country, and they had to bring him a washing machine to get out of the country, and he had like dozens of them.
But it had to be a
new one.
Yeah, it had to be a
good
and
why?
Machine.
Why the washing machines? That's become a meme. It's because the chips in them. The chips in those they repurpose them. They use them for in other processors because they have no access to them. Same reason there's a ton of like brand new LG washers and dryers being sold in Turkey because they disassemble them and sell the chunks of the inner workings to Russia. to avoid the sanctions. Let's grab a break, and then we'll come back with more questions. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk, home and by the temporary home of Philip Bittner before he leaves us for greener pastures as we elevate him into the world. I'm going to force the Midas Touch guys to have him on the show. I don't care. They owe me a favor anyways. It's going to happen. We'll be back. He walked out. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I am not going. No, I walked out to do. I'm going to do something here. I am not going through this winter for the fun of it.
No, I'm with you. I agree.
I am going to get. I'm trying to expand my audience because I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
For for fun.
Let's see. Yeah.
Let's see here.
Someone in the chat said Phil just quit. He just walked off the show.
Yeah, it just stormed out.
Just walked off.
Yeah.
I'm done. No. I'm doing this on purpose. Purpose. There's a method to my madness.
Yeah. So Russia, the oil. The funny thing is the price cap that Europe was proposing for Russia. Is like 15 euros higher.
It's like 30 bucks, I think.
Well, it was 60 because it takes them 50 to get it out of the ground. So they're giving them $10 as opposed to $30 per barrel or whatever. But it's trading below that. So it's already below 65. So it doesn't make any difference. Like at a certain point, and it's become a pointless pissing contest. By the way, Europeans postponed the meeting about it because they're watching the price go down.
Yeah.
Oh. Yay! By the way, we play that for Philip because we're always happy to know he's okay. Yes, because we all, like I said many times, we have all become Philip's mother now. So we always, whenever the power goes out in Kiev or there's a shelling or something blows up, we all immediately are like, "How's Philip?" And we're always glad you're on with us. Let's grab those other questions because I want to make sure that they get in there because I will filibuster.
First, two quick things. Mark the Holodomor.
Lighting a candle.
A single candle. Lighting a candle for the Holodomor. And secondly, and this is just completely unabashed and just not, I'm not going to even dance around this. Any listeners, any viewers of this podcast, if you have a favorite podcast, if you have somebody who you think would benefit to talking to somebody who's on the ground here, I am not going through this winter for nothing. So I will. More ears.
Share him out.
The more ears.
Yes.
The more ears I can get to listen, the better, because it will explain why the heck I am here. Because this is not fun. Do not. Yeah. I am not enjoying myself. I do not. I like being here because I love these people. Yeah. But please spread the message.
People in the audience know that I don't ask much and I don't ask often, but I will ask them to, if they listen to a radio show or a podcast, share Philip's Twitter handle and his YouTube channel with people and give them that boost. Bug people that you like have this guy on. It'll work. They'll
unabashed.
I'm shotgun.
I am not doing this. I'm not going through this, and I know that sounds like I'm whining, but it's also because let's keep this on the front pages.
Yeah, you need the message to get out.
Let's keep this on the radar.
And I'm not offended at all at being described as nothing. I'm not offended at all as being described as nothing. I understand, but no, I'm kidding. So let's grab some other questions.
That's
from,
not true.
I know.
3D Tech.
Yeah.
Can you ask Philip if they are continuing winter operations?
Yes. Yes and no. They're having to take a pause, but they're not stopping. They're not gonna stop. They're in position. They're going to press their advantage. But right now, the last week and a half, 10 days, the weather has been really bad. It is cold. It is foggy. It is snowing. It's not great for just moving around, much less conducting combat operations. But we'll get through this initial period of the first drop of winter. When the change happens, the seasonal change happens. There's normally a period where we do go through this really ugly, slushy, muddy, because it's not quite winter and there's snow, but then it melts and then it's mud, and so it just moving around. If I don't have an apartment, I don't leave my apartment. Much less try and pick up a weapon and take the battle to an enemy. But that will change, and they will keep fighting throughout the winter. I think those who think that there is going to be this massive pause and status quo, it's my firm belief that that's not the case, and I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see the Ukrainians still pushing against the Russians, and we'll see how it goes. But no, they're not stopping.
All right. So from a Twitch user, Diagram65, Russia has POWs. Are they mostly civilian or soldiers?
They're both. They're both. There are an awful lot of soldiers that have been
thank you, Audrey,
captured, but then they have also conducted open ethnic cleansing. They have put people who they consider ethnic Russians forcibly into trains and sent them east. Most disgusting of some of the stories that we hear that are substantiated are the children that they are taking from families, taking out of orphanages, just displaced children, and they are putting these children in families in Russia's kind of Siberian and Far East, which is in essence is child trafficking. And there's just
the irony that Trump loves this. Trump loves Putin. And they're one of the big QAnon supports of Trump is that he's going to stop child trafficking, and there's this whole big underground of child trafficking, and yet none of them seem to put two and two together about Trump's ongoing love for Putin and the fact that Putin ordered this stuff directly. This is the most overt kidnapping of children we've seen since Boko Haram.
It's always projection.
Yep. Go ahead, Johnny.
From Brad Polly.
Yeah.
Do you know the status of the nuclear plant?
Zaporizhia? Currently, Zaporizhia is still under risk. They are trying to moderate it. They're trying to figure out some way. The big plan that a lot of people want to see happen is for this fall back under Ukrainian civil administration. And not directly controlled by Russia. The International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, sent a crew in there. They were not particularly happy with what they saw. The concern is that if you leave it in Russian hands, that either they will not be responsible with it because they are dealing with an unfamiliar plant, or that they will purposefully hold it over everybody's heads as a negotiating tool. So, but right now, it's my understanding that that it is still operational, but there are very grave concerns about just the sheer capability of the Russians. So, we continue to be very deeply concerned about Zaporizhia.
Rightly so. Yeah. The Russians, by the way, just transferred. They had another prisoner transfer with Ukraine. 98 Ukrainian soldiers were returned. Some of them had been from Snake Island, but others were from Chernobyl, interestingly enough. They'd been held since the seizing of Chernobyl. And there's still Zaporizhia guys that are being held, the guards and soldiers that were protecting the plant that they didn't think were all on board with the Russian takeover. They took those guys over there as well, prisoner early on. So they have yet to be exchanged. So, yeah. Anyways, next one, Johnny. We got a couple minutes left.
There's a quick one. We get this every now and then. Do you have like a Venmo or Cash App that people can just directly assist to?
I don't really need one. I appreciate the sentiment. Maybe I'll set one up in the future. It's not financial that I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about getting the word out.
Yep.
Yeah. And you're not nothing.
I know.
You know that. Hal.
Believe me.
I love you, Val.
Believe me, I'm not worried at all.
I just think.
Yes.
I had a buddy of mine. A buddy of mine who wrote me on Thanksgiving. I love him dearly, but he was like, "Is it worth it, what you're doing?
Yes.
Is it worth
and you want to shut
what you're going through, what you're putting yourself through? Is it worth it?" And so because I love him, and we have these exchanges of ideas, and he didn't do it out of malice. He genuinely was like, "Are you achieving anything? Are you doing something? Are you going through this for a reason?" And it made me redouble my efforts in trying to expand my audience. So it is not a slight on you, dear Hal. It is simply that this is not enjoyable for me, and if I'm going to go through this and stand with the Ukrainian people, I want as many American ears and international ears hearing what I have to say.
Yeah, I agree. So, and the order stands, Sparklers. I'm serious. You guys have shows you listen to. Let's crisscross that world. Also, we got 2 minutes left, so let's grab another question. Otherwise, I will again.
Got one more here.
Yeah.
From Chuck Cronin over on Twitch, I believe. Question for Phil: do we know if there's a resolution in the works to get ATACMS to the Ukraine, the ATA CMS?
Yes, there are. We've talked about them in the past. These are missiles that are shot from the HIMARS system, but they have a longer range. And there is an effort to get them.
Can we call them ATACMS? Because that's great.
I hate that, but yes, we can call them ATACMS because that's what everybody calls them. ATACMS. I prefer the acronym. Fine, ATACMS. I give up. I surrender. ATACMS. Yes, there's an effort to get, but there's also now an effort to get actual Patriot systems because the more that they try to inflict damage on the energy sector and the infrastructure here,
that's a war crime.
A growing concern. It's a war crime, and there is a growing effort to get Patriot missile systems in here to keep the skies safe.
Yes, and the empty nukes that they're sending over there gives another reason to have Patriot systems over there in case they decide to fill one up. It's totally important. So we're out of time. Thank you so much, Philip. We will spread the word.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, Johnny Million. Love you guys. Thank you, Chicago. Thank you, chat room.
Happy late Thanksgiving. Late Thanksgiving, and thank you, Chicago, and thank you for everybody listening. I'm sorry, I'm not whining. I'm just let's try and get this out there, please, folks.
Agreed.
Let's talk to as many. I'll talk to anybody.
Yep. Push it to the front. Push it to the front, people. We'll be back next week.
Thanks, guys.
Excellent. Thanks, guys, so much. Appreciate it. Yeah.
I mean, I hate to sound like I'm going around with my
don't worry about it.
Hand, but I mean, seriously.
Thank you, Chicago. Yeah, no, don't worry about it.
Chicago.
Because I have everybody who watches the show regularly knows that I'm still trying to get people to subscribe and donate to the show and blah, blah, blah. And it's an ongoing effort for me to get myself to say those things even after I've been doing this for 2 years straight, almost completely uninterrupted. So I hear you. And I'm getting better at it.
And the letter from my buddy, was very much like, is it worth it? Is it worth what you're doing? Are you, is it the situation you put yourself into and he said suffering. I don't know if I would go so far as suffering because there are people who have it far worse than me. But he said, is the suffering that you are putting yourself through, is there a result to it, or are you just being a masochist?
As if being a masochist, we're not here to yuck your yum. We're not here to shame you on that front either. Hey,
stop it!
Right.
Stop it!
I know.
It some more.
Right. So yes, fear not.
Anyhow,
We're glad to do it, and we will.
Forgive me for being
never.
So
Don't worry about it.
But and I did talk to those Midas guys at the beginning of the conference. Spoke to the Midas guys, and we had a little. I think we got our wires crossed about what they expected of me and what and what they wanted from me. So if we could,
we'll do it again.
I will appropriate anybody's audience, as you well know. Hal.
Yeah, I'm for it. The entire purpose here has been to expand your message and make sure people hear it. So I'm for it. And like I said,
and I'm also a little worried. I'm a little worried. People may be starting to kind of
flag on the story
weary of the war and flag on the story, and so
I don't think so. It's been dipped over here a little bit.
I mean,
yeah.
It's exhausting, but
yes,
we have to carry it through.
Yes,
we're gonna win. We just have to carry it through.
Yes,
so
it's gonna.
If I can shout from the rooftops that this is still worth paying attention to,
yes,
and why, then I will. Then I'm more than happy to do it. So if anybody has a favorite podcast or radio show or tweet Phil. Tweet
Phil and let him know. Tweet me if you feel like that's somebody I can reach out to on his behalf. That will work as well. I'm glad to do it. I'll cold call on your behalf. I'd be glad to do it. So anybody, if you're thinking about stuff, I'll muscle that. I'll elbow my way into the room. I'm really good at that, doing that for other people.
Right.
So
just not yourself. I know the feeling. Well,
exactly.
Again, it wouldn't if it had not been for this email from this friend who loves me dearly, and I love him back. It really, literally on Thanksgiving Day, being like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself through this?
Yeah,
I hate to see you. I hate to see you living like this. Why are you doing it? Don't you have the means, you have the wherewithal to go off and live pretty comfortably if you wanted to. Why are you putting yourself through this?" And that it made me look back, look at myself and do some introspection. And I could leave. I could leave, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna stick this out. And it's because I really truly believe in this country. And
I'll hand you off to anybody.
It means that I have to be If it means I have to unabashedly and without humility say, I'll talk to anybody. Get me on the air.
By the way, I will hand you off to anybody, but you just have to promise I get your first report when Crimea is liberated and you're sitting on a beach somewhere, like next year, and looking back on this. I want your first shoeless report from Crimea.
Nope, you are first and foremost. You are always first and foremost.
All right, my headphones are going to die, and my family is waiting for me to go do Thanksgiving things. Love you. Be safe. Keep Wednesday
extended Thanksgiving. Yes, hi. Wednesday.
Yep.
Shoot me a line. Let me know. I'll be here.
Will do. Excellent. Okay. Love
Hope
you, Johnny
you're well,
Million.
Johnny. Hope you had a really good Thanksgiving, buddy.
Really did, Phil. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it. All right, guys.
All right. Peace, guys. Be
well.
Right.
Get that candle out, folks. All right.
Will do.
Bye-bye, guys.
Okay. Cheers. There you go. Again, yet another thing that I'm grateful for. I mean, and I am serious about that. Anybody who's in the audience, if you guys listen to some, I mean, there's obviously ones in the circle like the Major and folks like that that we can reach out to. But also, if you guys know of something like, this one really kills it, how do we get him on? Even if I don't have a connection to them, I will gladly, jump into that fray and help him get on there. He's called into Stephanie. She seems to be sort of foot dragging about it. But if more people than me hit her up about it, also hit up Chris Lavoie about it, because that will, that'll help too. I'm going to be on Steph's show on Monday. So I'll also bring it up to them again. Tom Hartman would be great. Yeah, exactly. Tom doesn't, Tom's a good dude, but he doesn't really talk to me much because I can't stand Richard Wolff and he has to have him on all the time and I think he's a fraud. So it drives me crazy and I love Tom, but Wolff is just awful. Just awful. And I don't know why it's a recurring thing. It makes no sense to me. Few people. You're asking to see if they'll have Philip Bittner on as a guest to talk about Ukraine from Ukraine, live from Kiev. And that, I know a lot of people, I wish Mel Robbins would talk to him. I know it's off our line, but yeah, yeah, I love Mel Robbins. Thanks, Saha. I appreciate it. Oh, your Twitter account. All right. Yeah, Richard Wolff. He's a avowed communist and an economics professor or whatever. He's just fucking stupid. He sells the Marxist line a lot, and it's just the stupidest. Like, and here's the thing. He's a rich dude with an IRA and obvious stock holdings who talks about democratizing the workplace, and yet he's a published author. It's not like he's going to let people at the fucking printing press have a say in what's in his book. It's just embarrassing. Scott Ritter's just talk about awful. That guy fell through a hole. Ficus is Thanksgiving. Ficus will give a whole story. Andrea Mercado, she does what? Sorry, does Mercado Media, really good coverage of the Ukraine war. I'll put that. Oh, that'd be great. Jill Weinbanks and Victor do a show. That'd be terrific. Who'd be good is Mary Trump. Could have him on too. She won't have me on yet, but she will eventually. But yeah, Driftglass and Blue Gal would be terrific too. I agree. She should have them. They could have him on. Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll reach out to them. Yeah, he sells Marxism, but he doesn't live it, and it's also. I mean, nobody can. It's absurd. Like, don't listen to an economic system that was built before computers. Like, it's totally stupid. Like, it's, I don't know. It's just embarrassing. Anyways, it's just, and he's mean-spirited and gross. Like, he's, it's just, yeah, Fugelsang would be great. If, Michael Cohen would be terrific. I agree. Randy Rhodes, that's true. Thanks, guys. Yeah, tweet me all these names because I'll lose it in the chat. Devin Nunes, right. Midas is a little all-Trump, but they're running interference. Wolf has some good ideas, but he's turned into politically weird personally. Well, his ideas aren't his, though, in theory. I mean, it's Marxist revolutionary shit, which has no place in a functioning, industrialized, and stable society. Just silly. Pac-Man would be good. Absolutely. Mike Malloy. All right. Malloy's a crazy dude, but I like him. Diamond and Silk. No, we do not serve. Although, yeah, Dino Badala would be terrific. Find Norman Goldman. Yeah, can't we bring him out of mothballs for this? Yes, Ojeda would be great. Philip Schechner. Yeah. Get Tara Devlin, please. Okay, I'll look into that. Yes, Nicole Wallace. It would be great to have her. If he could be on Nicole Wallace's show, that'd be terrific. As a matter of fact, I'll tweet her about that too. She was open to the idea of having me on the show a while back. I just have to get her booker online, to put me through. But at some point, I mean, it's become like a recurring cast thing at MSNBC. The same 8 people. Cedar might be good, but I don't know that. Yeah, Noel's terrific. Noel would be great. Cedar's one of those guys who seems to be leaning in the direction of, peace for peace sake there. Maybe he could use a good schooling by Phil. I got to take my headphones out because the battery's dying and it's going here. Rogan. He only has people sitting in the studio with it. He doesn't do any virtual. Lick would be great. Or, right. Because all Philip would do is swear it. Jon Stewart would be great. Starsky, I think we could do a crossover. That's really good. Lost the volume. Go down. Hear me? Hold on. Turn it up. Turn it up. Did my mic changed? Give me a second. Make sure my mic is the same. It is. That's so weird. Why would the volume go down? This thing's all the way up. What happened? What's going on? a filter on the filter, you know. Turn gain, pump the gain. Pump up. One gain is pump. All right, that's too. Wow, it's a zero gain fix. I know why. Why? Okay, pardon me. 1 second. Check. Okay, I think it'll go back up to normal at some point. That's weird. I don't know. I'm being attacked by the Russians. That's the only answer. I got to go anyways. Much love to you guys. We'll sign off. Please, Greg O'Lear's great idea. I love these. These are all super helpful. Text me those things or tweet me those things, and I will, I'll make a big list. Yeah, it's a lot of glitchy. I think it's the internet here. So anyways, much love. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And we will see you guys on Monday. Full regular shows on Monday. I'll be on Steph's show. And then right after that, I will be on my show. I might even remind me to be in the Steph chat so people can follow you over afterwards. I'll jump in, whatever you guys think, if YouTube's better or what have you, where they stream, so we can have everybody come on over to the morning show after they're done. That'll be the idea. So yes, you all have a mission to help us with Philip. We'll have a powwow about it on Monday on the morning show and see what we can pull together. Yeah, love it. Okay, take care of yourself, everybody, and I will see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend. Happy Thanksgiving. Much love to you guys. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Okay. And we're almost there. Okay, bye.